I would describe The Sound of Music, The Sound of Magic. The title is The Sound of Magic. As Peter Pan meets Wizard of Oz and Cinderella. 안녕하세요 여러분, 저는 Maria입니다. 오늘은 we are going to talk about The Sound of Music. The Sound of Magic. A Netflix original K-drama that was released on Friday. It's now Sunday and I've watched the whole thing and really want to discuss it with you guys. So without wasting any more time, review를 시작해요. This K-drama is a coming-of-age musical. We will talk about the musical elements in a moment. About a mysterious magician who appears before an abandoned teenage girl. While his motives are unclear, he does save her from several dangerous situations and offers to teach her magic. At the same time, their neighborhood becomes targeted for several crimes. The first one being a classmate goes missing, there's vandalism, and then there's also a robbery. Raising the very important question, is this magician true? Or is he simply a crazy man who lives in an abandoned amusement park? Now, I'm going to structure this video a little bit differently than I usually do. Usually I like to do pros, cons, and then my rating at the end. But as I was scripting this video, I noticed that a lot of my points had both a pro and a con. So I thought it would just be easier to break up this video into topics rather than a pro and a con. Firstly, let's talk about the music. As I said, this is a musical. Characters do break out into song. And I'll be totally honest and say this aspect of the drama did not work for me personally. I'm very happy for you if you were entertained by the songs. I am, but for me personally, they brought me out of the series. The only musical moments that I do think worked for the series was when the song involved the magician himself. Because his powers are reality altering, I thought that the visuals of the song really matched well with his character, and it played really well into the questions I was having about whether or not our female lead, who is like interacting most often with the magician, whether or not she was a reliable narrator. I wasn't sure for the most part whether or not these like grand musical performances were happening in her imagination or not, which I thought really added to like the whole mystery surrounding the magician, all that stuff. So I would have much preferred there only to be those songs and the magician was involved. Every time like other people sing or when our female lead sings by herself, I felt like it was quite jarring and it didn't work. Only 6 episodes in this series, which I think was a really good number for the story it was trying to tell, and every episode has at least a song or two. So out of the, say, guesstimate number of songs, because I did not keep track, say there's 10. I only enjoyed 2 of them, and one of them, in fact, I actually think was a masterpiece. Like, it was so good, and that is why I believe that there should have only been songs when the magician was involved. And I would be really curious for any of you guys who have seen the series if you can guess which song I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm just curious to see if you guys know my taste. Leave your guesses below. All of that being said, please do not pass on this drama just because there's musical numbers in it, because I did not enjoy the musical numbers, but I am still going to give this a fairly high rating. And that is because this series has a lot more to give than just musical theater singing moments. I also don't feel like the character development that happens within the songs are so crucial that you would be lost if you skipped ahead during those songs, except for the one that I think is really good. So if you're thinking of of watching this series. Maybe check the comments below, see who's guessed the right songs. I'll let you know the episode and the timestamp just so you don't skip ahead, because this one song is so good. The visuals, so good. And like, it's just, this one song is really good. Next topic is gonna be themes, genre, and also the trigger warnings. When it's not a musical song, the soundtrack is very Disney-esque, which does add to the fairy tale feeling of the drama. I will not talk specifics of the themes and the messages going on within the show, because those take a while to unravel. The final lesson of the series actually doesn't reveal itself until the finale. So again, I'm not going to spoil any of the themes or the messages, but I will say that I did really enjoy the fact that the show had such a strong message, because that is what fairy tales are. The whole point of a fairy tale is to get a point across through very magical, mystical events to our characters. So again, I feel like this series is a fairy tale. I would describe Sound of Music, The Sound of Magic, as Peter Pan meets Wizard of Oz and Cinderella. Now, Netflix has a variety of trigger warnings at the beginning of every episode. They're displayed at the top left corner along with the rating for the series. Now, I believe some of the trigger warnings are suicide and then sexual harassment. I struggle with how to word this, because I do think if those are triggers for you, they are in the series, but they're not overt, and I think for the most part they're more references to those really dark themes rather than showing them to you outright. So bear that in mind if you skipped on this series just because of the heavy trigger warnings at the beginning. I think Netflix is doing a really great job at displaying trigger warnings. It's something that I think is really important. But again, it's minimal. I really hope that someone with these triggers doesn't watch the show being like, Marie said it was fine, and then have a really awful experience. That would be awful. Maybe I should just cut that part out. Okay, on to our female lead. And Cinderella is the perfect segue to discuss our female lead. Both of her parents are no longer around. Now, she doesn't have an evil stepmother or stepsisters, anything like that. She has led an incredibly difficult life. She is now responsible for paying for all of the living expenses, not only for herself, but also her younger sister. And bear in mind, she's only in high school. She might be like in 11th or 12th grade. She is young, and it's heartbreaking to watch every adult in her life mistreat her. It's very frustrating. The only relief that she feels at the beginning of the series when we first meet her is when she is solving mathematical equations. And that is because these have a correct answer, unlike her real life, which she feels is full of unsolvable problems. Like I said, her story is very heartbreaking. This girl, very good at math. In fact, she is the #1 student at her school when it comes to math. Now, as you can imagine, this does draw the attention of the otherwise top student at the school for all other subjects. And he develops this really adorable crush on her. And due to his interest in her, he too becomes entangled in the magician and the mystery and the drama there. But just like her, it is revealed that there are aspects of his life that also needs a little bit of magic. Now, why do I liken our leading lady to Cinderella? Not only due to, the hard life that I've just described, but also because the magician acts sort of like a fairy godmother to her. But here, her transformation is not into a sparkly blue dress with glass slippers. Hers is an emotional transformation, and I loved to see it. Now, finally, we shall talk about the magician himself, played by one of my favorite actors. I wrote down his name because I do not want a repeat from last week. Names are just really difficult for me, although last week's slip up was I just completely confused two actors to be the same person. Totally my bad. Lee Chang-wook, I believe. I find, maybe I should just look up his name using Hangul, because I find sounding out names written in Hangul, I'm far more accurate with my pronunciation than trying to read the English romanization of the name. Wow, that was difficult. Okay, moving on. The only reason why I ended up putting on this drama was because of his involvement. So I was really excited to see him because I keep hoping that his dramas will be as good as the dramas that he starred in before the military. But unfortunately, since he's come out of the military, I've been disappointed with most of them. The only one that I did enjoy was Lovers in the City. I think that was what it was called. Or no, it was Love Struck in the City. Okay. And I am happy to say that I did enjoy him here. He is very good as a magician. He's solid. I'm not blown away by his performance in any means, and that's because there are some parts of it that don't quite land. I know he is capable of portraying a very playful attitude, but then also being quite intimidating. They come across very well. They don't always land within the show. And I don't think that that is any sort of reflection on him as an actor. I think it's a problem that arose due to the fact that the magician actually doesn't have very much screen time. It's quite minimal, actually. There were moments where I was like, I'm surprised he took on this role. I don't really see a lot of appeal in the role unless he wanted to sing, which then it would have made sense. If he just wanted the opportunity to sing, then it makes sense. I just don't think there's enough meat to this character otherwise. And when we do find out the magician's backstory, it's very disappointing, anticlimactic. It didn't satisfy me at all. With that, we're gonna go on to the story itself. But do not worry, I'm not going to give away any spoilers. I just want to talk big picture that this series got into my head. I'm so thankful for it because it actually got me out of my K-drama rut that I had been experiencing, because I wanted to watch every episode. Binged this within like a day, and I theorized so much. Literally every mystery that was presented, my brain was like in overdrive trying to figure it out, which does make for a great viewing experience, but ultimately I was disappointed because in the finale, when these mysteries are being solved for us, when we're getting all of the information and people's backstories and blah 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 blah, found the answers to all of the show's questions to be so tame and so boring compared to everything I was thinking up. I've actually thought about making a spoiler talk for this show, but not truly a spoiler talk. I just kind of want to tell you guys all of the theories that I was coming up with, because I think some of them could have been really good, especially in the hands of an experienced writer who could take my idea and really make it work. Yeah. Basically, the ending of this show is not as cool as I think it could have been. Alright, so that brings me to my overall rating, being a 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked the themes, I really liked the fairy tale aspects. I did enjoy the whole cast, although I didn't talk about the whole cast. Standouts are truly our leading lady, but then also the top student that she meets at school. But you guys will definitely recognize the top student because he was in True Beauty, and I think he was probably the breakout star from that show. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please let me know your thoughts on The Sound of Music below. The sound The sound of magic. Have a good day, have a good night, bye.